Welcome to our 2023 Dig Safe Breakfast and Safety presentation hosted by the Saskatchewan Common Ground Alliance. We are excited to be returning to in-person breakfasts this year, which are being held in 20 communities across the province to promote safe digging practices this National Dig Safe Month. I would like to thank our sponsors who have generously funded these breakfasts and are committed to damage prevention, worker safety, and the promotion of the Canadian Common Ground Alliance's best practices. I also want to recognize and thank our SCGA membership for their support. I really encourage any of you who are not yet members to speak with one of our volunteers today to learn more about getting involved. Together, we can make a positive impact on the digging community. I'd like to thank our delivery team for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here today to share the Dig Safe message with all of us. Thank you for attending and have a safe and successful digging season.
How it actually got started from moving from the 10 to 30 days was a member of the SCGA came to us in a best practice committee meeting, and they had had a question brought forward to them from a colleague asking about the locate timeframe.
How come there's a 10-day expiry date on our locates? How can we change that? When I looked across Canada, the other provinces were 30 days or greater.
I think it was across the board that locates are the biggest issue. What's happening is there are multiple utility owners that have product in the ground. So not all of them are part of First Call. They have different locators. So you call in locates, one company will come out in the allotted 3 days and they will locate their line. But then the next one's 10, 11, 12 days, they show up. When they're done, the first locate is expiring.
So how the change actually got started with the Best Practice Committee was we did a lot of research. We found that actually the majority of the jurisdictions were at 30 days or longer. For example, Alberta and Nova Scotia are at 30 days, and then Ontario is actually, the majority of their utilities are at 60 days. We also found out that an additional province or jurisdiction is looking at doing the same as us and expanding their timeline as they are finding the same results as we are. So by having this 30-day timeline, we're really just coming into alignment with the rest of industry and Canada. We created a survey, and the survey was sent out to the SCGA members and SAS First Call members. After that, we got the results back from the survey, and it was overwhelmingly in favor of moving to the 30-day time frame.
Having the expansion from 10 days to 30 days, well, the crews won't have to rush. They have this expectation that they have to get it done by the expiry date. 10 days was just not enough to get their projects done.
So for example, we will go to a job and we will want to do this job and we find out that one locate's expiring. So we end up paying for our guys to stay in hotel rooms, their food, their wages, thousands and thousands of dollars, possibly waiting a week for locates. That expense is huge. Not only that, the Crowns have to pay the locators to come out multiple times to locate, and which falls on all the people of the province who end up paying for that.
By having this expanded time frame, we will have a reduction in those relocates. And the biggest benefit of this is overwhelmingly, we heard the hindrance of having the 10-day expiry with the 3-day advance notification that was required for locates. When trying to manage a project, it got very difficult when you're looking at weather delays, equipment delays, or other potential delays in a project. By having the 30-day expiry allows more potential for a job to be completed with one locate, so only having to have it done once in the 30 days instead of multiple times in that same time frame. We are recommending to utilize a marking preservation technique to ensure that the markings will remain valid for the 30 days. If the markings are not visible or the lines are not clear, it does have to have a relocate.
Whenever you have a cost issue, safety is at issue as well. So if the costs are too high, corners are cut. Sure, there's a lot of crews out there in the province that are good and, hey, we'll adjust, we'll go to another job, but then you have those guys that'll take matters into their own hands. Probably, I'm going to say 90% of line hits are cutting corners, one way or another. Not exposing, not waiting for locates, locating on your own, or just a bad locate. This is going to make it a lot safer in the means you're going to show up, locates are all done, you don't have to, okay, everybody stop and wait, we got to call in locates again. That doesn't happen anymore. All you have to do is verify that locates are done according to the maps you receive, take pictures prior to jobs, Make sure everything is done according to your best knowledge.
According to the DIRT Report, a voluntary reporting tool across Canada for underground infrastructure damages, in 2021 there were more than 11,000 underground line contacts in Canada, or 45 per workday. In Saskatchewan, we had 3 damages per workday. 29% of damages were the result of not making a locate request to a one-call center. Damages cost Canadians more than $1 billion per year. In Saskatchewan, only 6 companies are reporting damages into the DIRT Report. You can help us contribute to more accurate reporting by going to scga.ca. Click on Resources and select DIRT Report.
Reducing customers' encroachments is pretty important to SaskPower. If customers encroach on our facilities, they put themselves at risk.
We deal with it a lot. Are there problems that come up with it? Not super frequently, but when they do, they're a challenge because they've either damaged the SaskTel line or there's an issue where they're going to have to change the plan that they've made for whatever project they're doing, and that's pretty costly for the developer or the landowner.
Any alteration of a service in non-winter conditions starts at $700 plus GST, going up into the multiple thousands depending on how big of an issue it is and how much has to be moved.
The customer or the developer needs to be aware the easements that are going to be in place for new construction, understand setbacks from those easements, and to provide the Crown or the utility enough working space that we should be able to access them in the future. It's not just about getting it built today, but it's about maintaining it and being able to repair it in a timely fashion and a cost-efficient fashion for the future as well.
Probably the more common ones are fences, decks, garages, sheds, that sort of thing.
Trees being planted directly under power line within the right-of-way. New construction, basements are a common issue as well. A homeowner attaching a deck to one of our power poles. It was used as a base for a set of stairs. We should never attach anything besides SaskPower owned equipment to our power poles.
A shed is a common thing we see in people's backyards. People just put them up because they're not disturbing the ground when they're building them. So a lot of them, they won't get a locate, so they don't know where the utilities are. As long as it's not on top of a service connection or an underground fitting, sometimes we'll permit those. But if anything does happen and we need to access our lines underground, if that needs to be moved or destroyed or an alteration done, it's still on the cost of the homeowner or the customer for those repairs.
Those are the kind of things that come in most frequently, and then we would work with them to say, you know, if you want that there and we can move it, we'll absolutely move it as long as they're willing to pay the cost.
We've had a situation where a homeowner decided to install quite tall decorative flags on their property. Unfortunately, they placed them too close to the overhead power lines. One failed and fell over onto our overhead facility. Fortunately, no injuries occurred.
So another example is a newly built, very well done, decorated addition that was actually built right on top of our gas main in somebody's backyard. The issue with that is it's an enclosed structure with electricity and ignition sources in it. If there's any kind of underground leak, generally at a fitting, a service connection to our main, that gas usually migrates along the main or the service and can build up inside a structure. It can ignite and explode.
There was a contractor, landscaper, who was building fences in a new development. Unfortunately, locates weren't done. Hearing the story and the conversations, they felt that they were in an area that maybe wasn't going to create any damage to any sort of facilities. One of their augers did hit one of our cables, which ended up taking out service for about a dozen customers. It was difficult to find out what the actual issue was and where it was. Finally, when they narrowed it down to, there must be a cable cut, and we can see that there's been a contractor here building fences.
Knowing what is on your property and how those easements will affect your future plans is awfully important. You need to know where those utilities are running. The last thing you want to do is build over top of them. Nothing worse for a construction site than to have all your asphalt and pavement dug up and patched and all your grades ruined as we try to access our facilities.
With all of the information available online for contractors and for homeowners, just take that little bit of extra time to go through terms and conditions, planning your project, and if need be, making an appointment with one of our techs to come on site and discuss things with you in the pre-planning rather than doing it after the fact.
Key is getting locates. You can look at your title to see what might be there, but contacting the utilities and just asking the question about what might be there and how can you help is probably key. Part of our job, and we're very much willing to work with people on how to make sure that your project goes off.
Download the SCGA Best Practices Manual today. It has the latest in safe digging practices, including a section on what the colors mean. Get access via the resources section of scga.ca today. Just a reminder, you must comply with provincial and federal regulations to ensure the safety and security of the public, as well as prevent damage to property and the environment.
There's the right to know, the right to participate, and the absolute most important one, the right to refuse. If you're being put in danger or you feel you're being put into a dangerous situation, refuse the work.
If you don't feel comfortable or if you feel like it's not your job to be doing, you can refuse at any time.
If you don't say something, somebody can get badly injured. We're not talking about stubbing a toe or something like that. We're talking about death.
If you were to be in a situation where something were to happen, it might affect you forever, really. Like if it came down to life or death, it's important to, if you feel unsafe, to say something.
I've seen ankles get shattered. Your ankle is way weaker than a piece of steel hitting another piece of steel. I've seen legs broke. I've seen collapses. I've seen punctures in pipelines.
You look around at other people, and if other people are unsure what's going on, that's a good clue to maybe step back for a second. Safety is the responsibility of everybody. Everybody has to watch everybody's back because we all want to go home safely. I got 2 young boys, they're just in elementary school and they need their dad to come home at the end of the day.
Talk about right to refuse at every tailboard meeting. Talk about it at every safety meeting. Because people need to understand that it's okay to say no. It's not okay to not say no. If you're gonna put yourself in danger, don't. It's better to walk away and be alive tomorrow as not walk away and be a memory.
Whether you're a contractor, homeowner, or anyone doing work around underground infrastructure, contact SAS First Call before you begin your work. Always call or click before you dig.
Hand exposure is non-mechanical means of exposing a buried line. The mechanical stops within 1.5 meters of any buried line. You don't have feeling for when you're going to make contact with that buried facility. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be some steel line. It could be something very delicate, like a buried fiber optic line or a natural gas line, which is plastic, really. And it's not that hard to damage some of those things. Any buried facility, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all to be treated the same. Line hits happen all the time. So you could have oil, gas, a fire, an explosion. There have been numerous injuries. People have literally been burned and killed that way. This can be dangerous work, but it is necessary work, and we need to do it carefully, but methodically and with a purpose. We wanted to show that, you don't want to be just stabbing away at it. Even if you're getting tired, even if it's a hot day, you don't want to be just jumping on the shovel. Just lean into it with your foot kind of guiding it. Just feel for it. don't twist your trunk, kind of move your feet, you know, that twisting action, right? That'll give anybody, young or old, a sore back. We are focused, no distractions. We're following OH&S, we're following our procedures. A lot of employers may not necessarily be literally in the trenches with their people, but without physically, literally being there and physically, literally showing them like this. We all have a responsibility to take safety in the workplace serious, and if you don't, there are thousands of dollars in fines and jail time, and we have many people out there who have already experienced that. They didn't take a look at that shovel. With that experience and wisdom comes the responsibility to share that and to take a vested interest in those younger people coming into the workplace and to help them be the employees that you need them to be so that they are safely exposing those buried lines and not injuring themselves and adding more lost time, accidents, and frequencies of those types of things.
Rewatch these videos and many more by going to scga.ca and clicking on the YouTube link at the top of the page. Thank you to the following for their time and expertise.